Education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want.
George is still telling the truth.
Government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway, from Charlotte. Another line going from in Florida down to Tampa. Of Putin's kleptocracy. Yeah. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him. The idea that. Let's be clear. I hear it all the time. Cumulative, I can play for the programs many times.
Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys.
Let me start off with two words. Made in America. Made in America.
Okay, welcome back to another night of Shtick with Koolfrogg. Oh my lord! Sorry we're late. It has a tendency to happen every once in a while. You know, we get children and whatnot, and they just so happen to pick the greatest time to come in.
I haven't. Look, I have trouble even saying to myself my own head the number of years. I no more think of myself as being as old as I am than fly. I mean, it's just not. I haven't observed anything in terms of. There's not things I don't do now that I did before, whether it's physical or mental or anything else.
Just have to add to that. We may have to download that.
Yeah, you know, like retweet it or something, or send it to me. So I'll download, put it in the reel. So, you know, it seems as usually when we come back on Sundays, there's news that we didn't cover on Friday or Saturday that we have to end up covering to make up news for the day. And now I do have several tabs open for tonight. We're going to start off with the Wagner Group stuff. It seemed that it caught a lot of people's eye, their thoughts, their opinions to Evgeny Prigozhin going and trying to do something coup style related to Putin. But it didn't really seem to come of much. It was very short-lived. But yet he gets his name marked in the books of history as it is being live broadcast across different platforms. There's several people that actually covered this. It wasn't something that was like hidden from us. So, you know, it's very, very short timeline. You can see it was on June 23rd, and it's going to give us at 11:52 at night. We're getting ready to turn into the 24th. This is on Friday. Evgeny A head of Russian private military company Wagner Group claimed the senior Russian commanders were traitors and demanded the prosecution and defense ministry Sergei Shoigu and General Valery Gerasimov, the chair of the general staff. If you have anything you need to say, you can speak up at any time there, shirts. Later in the day, Prigozhin claimed that the Russian military had attacked Wagner reserve positions. Prigozhin announced that forces loyal to him were moving toward the city of Rostov-on-Don. So, this is all later that day. It's a minute later before it turns into the 24th. According to what this is actually Greenwich Mean Time, so I suppose it's several hours before this. It's in the 24th for them. Defense Ministry denied the claim. Russian Federal Security Services accused of staging an armed coup and called on Wagner fighters to apprehend him. Then it says Moscow police have increased their presence in the city, taking in additional measures to protect the Russian capital's most important buildings, public authorities, and transport infrastructure. The news agency TASS has reported several pictures and videos of military hardware moving through the city's streets, even appeared on the web. And then it's still on the 23rd, according to what they're saying. Because they should have. Yeah, see, it's going to go into the 24th here real quick. Right? Putin is being informed of the latest developments regarding the armed coup attempt. Do you know anything about this? Are you?
Yes. I don't know exactly what you're like. I know you're trying to go to the rundown of events and things, but I don't believe this was ever anything fully legitimate.
So they're making
really
this as legitimate is that they're actually putting in words and exactly in a time frame that certain things had occurred. And they have it documented. So he gets to go down in history as being this guy that just so happened to attempt to go into a coup and tried to call it something, gets talked to by Belarus to stand down. What does Belarus really have to do with it? And how does some other country have so much influence over a little group? Is Toss still around? Hello, Ben Frail. Hello, Suzanne. Hello, Charlemagne.
Dragon Dragon Man son Assassin's here.
What's up, Dragon Man?
Here. He says hello. Sorry, I missed your stream. That's not a good time. Well, that's no problem. You can rewatch.
Well, that and we just restarted, so all's good. It's all good. So it doesn't make sense to me why such a coup attempt would actually be considered, and then they walk the guy off. They exile him. They exile him at the end. So he gets walked off, and then they say, in their own words, they actually say that he hasn't been seen after a certain period of time. Like he never showed up to where he was actually supposed to end up going. How is he so easily persuaded to go walk away and most likely be unalived? That would be my opinion.
Well, the thing is that he according to everything that I have been gathering from this, he has not been unalived, nor have any of these other people that allegedly went with him. And again, there was only like maybe 1,000, maybe, out of the like 56,000 or more that he had in the Ukraine. So, and then it's like, oh, he's marching on Moscow to like take over. It's like, well, no, actually, what he said was, oh, I don't want X, Y, and Z individual to be in this position and whatever. And so, I'm going to, put it into it. We're going to go up there. We're going to make sure justice is done up there. It's for the country. It's for this. It's for that. Da da da. Anybody else that wants to come along, it's loyal to me. Da da da. Can come up and do this, whatever. And he comes up through these areas, and these people. The military there has some kind of reaction, but initially it's mostly just talking. And then the people in the area are celebrating all of these people coming through, the Wagner people. And then eventually they all leave, and they're celebrating them leaving. And they're having all of this, like it's like troops come home to visit, and the
This
homeland.
is June 25th, so this is today. So then you're gonna tell me this here from today. It says there is still no respect for mercenary leader Yevgeny Prigozhin, however the frick you pronounce his name, arriving in Belarus.
Prigozhin.
Yeah, sure. It sounds ridiculous. After he reached a deal with the Kremlin to go into exile and ended his rebellion, many others questions remain unanswered on Sunday morning, including whether Prigozhin would be joined in exile by any of his Wagner Group's troops, and what role, if any, he might have there. Prigozhin, who sent out a series of audio and video updates during his revolt, has gone silent since the Kremlin announced that the deal had been brokered for him to end his march toward Moscow and leave Russia.
Like the
He's gonna
whole
leave Russia.
deal, too. Like the whole thing, just is like. So this person claims that he's going to march to your capital and just overhaul whatever authorities there, and just take out people out of the cabinet that's there that he doesn't like, and then replace them with good people and then leave. And so that's any kind of a rational position, like you could ever even do that. And then he's just like, oh, well, like we had talks there in Russia. It kind of went, maybe okay-ish, he's nice, but like he doesn't want to harm everybody. He just wants to go up there to these people. Okay, we get that. Well, we're going to make a deal with the leader there in Belarus, whatever. We're going to do this. We're going to do that, da, da, da. And then none of these people face any public repercussions. I mean, it's one thing to say, because I mean, if this is like an actual like coup attempt of like, oh my God, overthrow everything. By the way, like also, why did they, like, if this was an actual legitimate threat to the government of Russia, they could have just carpet bombed them off the face of the earth. There was like not maybe 1,000 of them. Like they just like they had no air support. They had no they didn't have that. Russia just could have come in with their planes and just bombed the crap out of them, and they would have been wiped off the map, literally. Like, why didn't they do that?
Dude,
like, I mean, could you imagine if the Ukrainian
that
people,
never happened?
I mean, could you imagine like Ukrainians just like marching right through into Russia, just be like, oh, whatever, we're going to take this place, screw you,
Right.
Like, and just like, oh, they're just going to let it happen. They're just going to let them go through. I mean, if this is an actual enemy, and if they think he's an actual enemy, they can just wipe the map with him. Why didn't they do that? They let him come in, and then they let all this stuff happen, and then they let a deal thing brokered or whatever, and then everybody just gets to go back home, and now all of these people that were there are now being sent back to Ukraine, and then he's going back to or whatever part of them that wasn't where they were supposed to be in Ukraine are now back where they're supposed to be. I'm getting conflicting understandings of where exactly the 1,000 around 1,000 that were with Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner group. All of that group, I don't know if they went to Belarus, all of those people, or what happened
That's what he said. It looked like it
with
said that
those.
he himself. That is exactly what I just read. He himself never arrived. There's still no reports.
But that doesn't
Of
mean
him.
they unalived him, like it doesn't. I mean, there are multiple ways of looking at this, and this whole thing has been this whole
It just seems pretty
Russia-Ukraine
convenient,
conflict.
is all I'm saying.
But like, if it's such a public display of like a coup d'etat, he's going to overtake the government. And if they actually believed that and they actually did want him to be killed, they could have just arrested him on the spot. They could have surrounded him. They could have blown all of his people off the map. And then they could literally have done whatever the freaking crap they wanted to him while he was within Russian territory. If he was a legitimate, actual, I'm going to overthrow the government type deal. So, like,
He is in exile. Yes, exactly, Catnip Dave. He is in exile. Hello, RZ. Good to see you. Good to see you. Glad you're all here. Hit that like button for us. There's a lot of other things that we're actually gonna go through here tonight, other than just this.
and there is
particular-
also like a record of this too, of like this Prigozhin guy. And Robert Barnes, I was listening to earlier, pointed this out better than I've heard anybody point it out yet, which is this guy has had a record of coming to the media and being like, oh my God, like he says all these like
What's up,
talking
Koolfrogg?
points of the West, of like Western media and like all these different people, like in BBC and so forth, and he'll just like say all these talking points from them, and he'll be like, oh my God, like it's terrible out here, and oh, the Russians treat us terribly, and oh this and oh me and oh my, and we can't stand ourselves here in Bakhmut. Everything's so. I mean, I remember seeing reports of this constantly, of like this guy like head of Wagner says that they're like like Russia's terrible, like they're losing Bakhmut or whatever, and then like the Ukrainians start like pouring people in, and then they just wipe them out. So there's been this record of like several occasions of this guy who's the head of Wagner. And by the way, this guy who's the head of the Wagner group isn't actually the literal head of the Wagner group, because this guy is not a military guy. This guy is a businessman. So he's not actually like he's not a veteran. He's not like, he hasn't served in war. Like this is the first time he's actually even been out on the front lines himself with these people that he funds. In other words, he's sort of like one of the money arms of this, but he doesn't actually head up every single aspect of this too. There's a lot more complexity to this topic than would meet the eye to most people.
This one we're going to actually read out, because this one actually has some interesting stuff in it about what's actually happening between different places. So it says Russia launched the largest series of missile strikes on Ukraine in recent months amid Wagner rebellion. So I know better to read the first half over twice. So it says, according to the data compiled by American national security think tank, the Institute of Study of War, Russian forces launched at least 40 cruise missiles, 9 cruise missiles, 2 caliber sea-based cruise missiles, and S-300 or 2 S-300s, as well as launching 3 Iranian-made Shihad suicide attack drones against targets in Ukraine on Saturday, while the Ukrainian governor or general staff claimed to have shot down many of the missiles and 2 of the attack drones. At least 10 missile strikes and 1 drone hit their targets in Ukraine territory. Russia's Ministry of Defense claimed that Moscow's forces successfully hit Ukraine electronic intelligence sentries, as well as some aviation equipment at the airfield in the Koolfrogg region, in addition to fuel storage facilities in Dnipro. So again, they hit some fuel facilities in Dnipro. They're actually going. They seem to have hit that place several different times. Um, at least 5 people reportedly killed during the missile strikes in an apartment block in Kyiv, Ukraine. Uh, State media Ukraine form claimed. Whatever. The ISW noted that prisoners, this Wagner group guy, paramilitary forces likely could have disrupted Saturday's assaults on Ukraine, given that they had taken over the Russian military headquarters of Rostov-on-Don, which had been one of the main coordinating centers of the war in Ukraine for the Russians' armed forces. So they actually disrupted attacks on Ukraine, according to what this is saying.
I don't believe that at all. I mean, like everything that I saw from there, I mean, their tank cover, they still had like tank covers, like the tanks, the cannons on top of the tanks or whatever, like, you know, the guns on top of the tanks, they had covers on them. Like everything was like covered up. Everything was already like, and they got out of the places, you know, the military people from the bases, people came up and talked to the other Wagner people that came up. They were talking, they were negotiating, they were talking back and forth. Like nobody sat there and was like, oh my God, the whole place is taken over. He's like taking over the whole, like this is all a little more complex than I think a lot of people think that it is. Because a lot of people, again, it's just like, you know, you look at it from the surface level, which I think is what the Ruskies would want you to believe is the surface level of this. But like, as you go into all the little details, it's like, well, things don't really line up. If this is like an actual threat to the country of Russia and to military integrity and all this kind of stuff. I mean, if he's actually that bad off, like they could have just killed them all. like they could have just been like, hey, you know, we need help. And the Russians could have sent like 10,000 people, 30,000 people, and just been like, bloop, done. And you wouldn't have heard sight or sound. But these people were allowed to hang out there. Like, and then they got cheers. There's crowds of people at the end of the day. Like, there's a video from that guy, Patrick Lancaster, that we like to watch, you know, the Patrick Lancaster got over there. He actually followed these people over to that city that they allegedly, you know, quote unquote, took over. And like all the townspeople, here's like video. I just watched it like, I think 2 hours ago or whatever. And they're all like screaming and cheering. Oh my God, God bless you, sir. Oh my God. Like they're running up. He like rolled down he had like this big, you know, car SUV thing, rolls down the window. And there's just this woman that runs up and like grabs his hand. And she's like, oh, God bless you. You know, like in Russian. I'm like, oh, and like everybody's just cheering and like, oh, it's like, this doesn't sound like some armed insurrection that's like overtaking everything. Like, oh my God, they're all over the place. These people just like marched in there and then just like sat around. It's like, what? Like all the details, it's like, it doesn't add up to me.
Wagner could stage surprise attack against Ukraine from Belarus, warns former UK Army chief. You know, it's like, I mean, he's been exiled. What is he going to have? Because my opinion, you know, being exiled is they would have let him walk away, go away, leave our country, never come back, and go back to indoctrinating their own type, you know, into what they want them to be, because that's what you do, you know, right? No?
I guess. I kind of like lost track of what you said there.
Of course you did. Of course you did. Sounds a little too Hollywood, all staged, something that shouldn't even be there. It's just, what's up, Axiom? They just so happen to decide to, you know, go and try staging something that really had no support behind it. How it, I don't know. This is just stupid. They're all stupid. The guy's an idiot. He didn't last anything longer than then like 24 hours before he was exiled.
And I love how all of the Ukrainian, like Slavic Ukrainian people, and all of the libtarded people, they all were like, in the news media places anyway, right? They were all like, "Oh my God, Putin's evil Wagner group going to destroy everything in the Ukraine." Now all of a sudden,
You mean people like these guys?
yeah, exactly like those people. Actually, look at that dunce, and but like. But like they're all like, oh my God, like they had these huge news reports of like, oh, Wagner this, Wagner that. Now it's like, oh, Wagner the savior. Oh, Prigozhin, this guy, he's so wonderful. He's going to save Russia from all its ills. It's like within a matter of like some of these places. I was listening to some people today, like within a matter of 24 hours, they had stories that were literally diametrically opposed to one another within a matter of like 24 hours, like some mainstream outlets. It's unbelievable what they were able to accomplish. I think the Russians were able to accomplish with this, like completely trolling everybody and, doing what I think the head of this Wagner group guy has been kind of doing. This guy's been BFFs with Putin for a long time. This guy owes all of his wealth to Vladimir Putin, this Prigozhin guy. He's a big sort of oligarch type figure who's got all of this money behind him. Because he's been investing in Russian, military stuff and so forth. And it is because of Putin's allowance that he's even been able to rise to the billionaire status that he has. And he himself, like I said, he's like a big money guy. He's like a business guy. He's not himself a military guy. So it's like, why is he even out on these front lines too, to start with? You can even go there. It's like his whole purpose out there is just to be like, oh my God, I'm the fair and balanced Brett Baer, Fox News type neocon weirdo from Russia. And I am, going to sit here and say that, everything that Russia's doing is kind of weird and whack. And like, maybe we shouldn't do it. And then as soon as he gets done off the media within like a week, he like turns his people back, like all the people that he's, allegedly over, right? Like turn around and just like swamp the area and like wipe out the enemy combatants that like come in because it's like, oh, look, see, like they said, they're weak. And then they all just rush in, all the Ukrainian people. And then like, all the, the Yahtzee soldiers and all that. And they just get wiped. They just get wiped off the map. Like every time. Like there's a record of this. And I've actually been like, the past couple of days as this has been going on, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. And you kind of go back and like, he made different media interviews saying different things or whatever else. And I've heard some people like the Duran, which is very good, by the way. You should go look at them, give them watches because they're great as far as analysis is concerned. Because they actually like, the one guy over there, he lives in Greece and the other guy lives in England. So, but the guy that lives in Greece is like, over there in that sort of eastern area of Europe. So he kind of, a little bit more on the ground type updates, if you will. He has a little more people on the ground, I believe. But
this is just a 9-minute video. It's nothing massive. I want us to actually listen to what Secretary Blinken actually has to say.
oh my God, this guy looks like a weasel.
Secretary of State Antony
Look,
Blinken.
you can see the whiskers.
Thank you so much for joining me today. This march within 120 miles of Moscow, Prigozhin then abruptly stopped, turned around yesterday afternoon. What happened? Why?
Like he's going to know.
We don't have full information, obviously, and it's too soon to tell exactly where this is going to go. And I suspect that
you're just as surprised as everyone
this
else.
is a moving picture, and we haven't seen the last act yet. But we can say this. First of all, what we've seen is extraordinary, and I think you've seen cracks emerge that weren't there before. First, in having Prigozhin raise front and center, questioning the very premises of the Russian aggression against Ukraine to begin with. The argument that somehow you...
Now, do we know that's the whole reason is because of Ukraine and why they're actually rebelling? Or is it that he had his own reasonings for rebelling? Are we just kind of projecting our own on them? Is that what we're doing these days?
That's precisely what we're doing. Now, some
NATO
people
posted-
have even theorized as well, by the way, I forgot to mention this too, that the U.S. tried to give Prigozhin, this individual here, you know, the wealthy individual that tried to take the troops up, right, into Russia. Some believe that, if you recall, last week, the U.S. was like, oh, well, we have another 6.4 billion that we just kind of like forgot to give to Ukraine. We just forgot to give it. Oh, whoops. It's just free money, you know. So like they just hold off, and it's just like, they gave him like 6.4 billion allegedly. They give this guy
Right.
to turn around and like do this whole, coup d'etat type thing, whatever. I don't know if that's entirely
We can tell
accurate.
what shows when America's Church isn't there pays attention to. Just kidding. Keep going.
But I don't know if that's entirely accurate. But
Yes.
if that is true, that's a total flop and a total failure. And your government just spent $6.4 billion.
That 6.4
That
or
lasted
whatever.
not even a couple of
that
days.
last thing. Well, that was a miscalculation in how much worth the equipment that they sent was. They miscalculated. They sent over that much more in the last 2 years. That last 6.4. It was kind of a strange ordeal on that.
Prigozhin raised front and center, questioning the very premises of the Russian aggression against Ukraine to begin with. The argument that somehow Ukraine or NATO posed a threat to Russia, and a direct challenge to Putin himself. So think about it this way. 16 months ago, Russian forces were on the doorstep of Kyiv, Ukraine, thinking they were going to take the city in a matter of days, erase the country from the map. Now, they had to be focused on defending Moscow, Russia's capital, against mercenaries of Putin's own making. So this
mercenaries of Putin's own making.
I don't think we can make it 9 minutes. I think this is going to be like, if we let this go, there's going to be so many interruptions and laughing fits from me. This is
Hello, Renee. Is 6.2 billion? Whoops, better than 3.2 trillion. Am I right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Much better. Much better. Who just keep on giving them more and more money? It's okay. Our owners need these wars. How else would they use the general welfare clause to charge us money to attack us? Says Axiom. Do you know?
That might be a YouTube unfriendly segment all by itself.
Okay, so then that being said, we'll just go back to this.
raises lots of profound questions that will be answered, I think, in the days and weeks ahead.
I understand this is very much a moving and a fluid situation. One thing
I
that
don't think
Senator
it
Marco
actually
Rubio
is.
said, he's of course a top Republican on the Intelligence Committee, he says that top military officials in Russia may have been replaced in order to get Prigozhin to back down. Have any top military officials, like the defense minister, been ousted as far as the U.S. knows?
We haven't seen that yet, but again, I think we'll see this unroll.
We haven't
further.
seen any of that because you don't even know what the fuck she just.
I mean, literally.
In the days and weeks ahead, there's no secret to the fact that Prigozhin was very much a critic of the military leadership, the Minister of Defense, the head of the armed forces. So how this now unfolds in terms of personnel, all of that remains to be seen. We are intensely focused on Ukraine and making sure that Ukraine continues to have what it needs to defend itself, to take back the territory that the Russians have seized over the past 16 months. And we're very focused on maintaining the unity of purpose and action that has been a hallmark of Ukraine's success to date. The president brought together not only the National Security Cabinet yesterday, but brought together leaders from among our key allies and partners. He instructed the rest of us to fan out, to engage all of our allies and partners to make sure we were closely coordinating and keeping the focus where it needs to be, on Ukraine, on the efforts that they're making to take back the territory that Russia's taken from them.
I understand that, but just staying on Vladimir Putin for a minute, do you believe that this is the beginning of the end for Vladimir Putin?
I don't want to speculate about that. This is, first of all, an internal.
I don't want to speculate about that. I have no reason to actually guess or assume of any way, shape, or form of anything, because
This all
I'm a
goes away
jackass.
in a day. It's just like, is he over? Is he done?
Do you
Is
think?
it the end?
I don't think that he's actually done. I think he's got a lot more to come.
Oh
And
my God.
we need to be paying attention to him. I think we all need to be really paying attention to is like China, but we're not worried about China for some reason. We think.
Or how about
that
like our own
everything's
southern
good.
border too? I mean, like all the different things. But no. See, the Secretary of State, all he's concerned about is making sure that the Ukraine takes back what Russia took from them, quote unquote. Right? I mean, that's well, not quote unquote. They did. So I mean, that you heard it there.
That
From
Donbass region was supposed to be sovereign. They're supposed to not be part of Ukraine or Russia. They were supposed to be themselves. And why do they keep on fighting over these two areas? Do you think Putin's not trying to put it back the way it was?
I am not exactly sure what you mean. I mean,
Warsaw Pact?
but like they've already annexed
The
these areas.
Donbass region was supposed to be sovereign. They were supposed to be their
Well,
own.
yeah, but that flopped.
They were supposed to be left alone in between Ukraine and Russia, and it was supposed to be territory where they could both live without any aggressions or whatever. And it seems to be is that Ukraine is trying to claim it as their territory when it's not. In all actuality, it's not their territory. If it's not their territory, what is the issue, and why is they're fighting over this territory when neither side has the right to fight over it? It's not theirs. Confused. And I confused you. That's the good part. Yes, back to this guy.
Matter for Russia. What we've seen is this, though. We've seen this aggression against Ukraine become a strategic failure across the board.
Renee says Donbass has been shelled by Ukraine for decades. Poroshenko bragged about keeping kids hauled up in basements while Western Ukraine is learning in schoolhouses. Ukraine hates ethnic Russians, hence the outlawed Russian as a language.
I mean, like we've been over this entire origin of all of this conflict stuff, like
right,
a long time ago, and the reasonings for all of these things is because of the Ukraine's shelling of these people, whatever else, and the governments of these areas too. There's several delegations that have been sent over the years to try and join Russia. because they do not have the means to fully defend themselves from the Ukrainian government, and the Yazis. And so, in order to even preserve themselves, they need Ruski help. But they originally came in, liberated the areas, the Ruskies. Then they had a vote. Then, they had a delegation go up to Russia, formally request. They had a vote. They had several different things go on, and then they officially annexed it after that. Because the people there all speak Russian. They're all Russian ethnically. They're all, so
I mean, I'm still for the fact of I don't care what they speak, who they talked about, how they do whatever. I think that both sides need to back the fuck off and leave the territory the way it's intended to be left. Neither one of theirs. Neither one of you get it.
Maybe that's a solution in the future of like creating another sort of zone or whatever, where it's like, okay, these people can be like a buffer state, but like that's in the, like the whole thing that you're talking about is long gone. Like the Ukrainians never observed it, and so the Russians have no choice but to do what they did, because the Ukrainians were going to push clear up through the Donbass up through to the border in February, which is why they had the Ruskies had the reaction that they did. That was like that's in my videos from my YouTube channel. YouTube, ha 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 ha! I don't have YouTube. I have Rebel.
He's too good for YouTube. He goes to
Indeed.
Rumble alone. Axiom. Axiom says they keep fighting over area because it's good reason to charge the American people to throw the corporations and politicians, special interest groups, as much money as will let them have.
Yeah, that's our
Of course.
people. That's Blinken here.
That's what they do, right?
Getting money from the laundering in Ukraine. Allegedly, of course.
Pull up Poroshenko telling people the kids will be hiding in basements. I don't have that, and I'm not going to go search for it right now. But I know he said it. It's just very disturbing to actually see him actually say such a thing, and it makes you really seriously think that there are people that are so mean that they'll actually go to the point of actually doing such a thing, especially when they're being told to do it by their own government. When USSR fell, the Russian people in the East, a newly formed country, were completely decimated. Come on, guys.
Come on, man.
Come on, guys.
I don't know. I just have to say that.
Yeah, no, I got you. When USSR fell, when you actually think about it, when it actually fell, and that area was being formed, and they created the Warsaw Pact, which said that Donbass region was to be left alone and left sovereign, and nobody owned that territory. It was to be used by both without the other being able to tell them what to do or what not to do. So then on top of that being, I'm going to lose my thought. You really have to pay attention to how it was actually originally written out and what it actually said. It said that NATO could not be part of Ukraine or vice versa. It's NATO. They can't. NATO is supposed to stay out of Ukraine. NATO is supposed to stay out of Ukraine as far as is what it was intended to be. For those that say, well, Warsaw Pact is no longer a thing, isn't really true. Technically, it is supposedly still there. Renee says, I'm a French girl in America, and I know this shit, along with the truth of the Holodomor. See, that's fun. You okay? Are you confused?
mean-
You don't know what the Warsaw Pact was.
I mean, I haven't read it myself.
You've heard of it.
I mean, I have heard of this Warsaw Pact.
That's why it was written, that Ukraine wouldn't actually be able to take claims, neither Russia on the Donbass region. It was neither one of their territory. Right, it says it right there, communist allies, and that's what we always thought it to be, was that they were communists. But then you have Putin coming out the other day and saying he's actually fighting off neo-Yazis in Ukraine. All right, back to this guy.
Russia is weaker economically, militarily. Its standing around the world has plummeted. It's managed to get Europeans off of Russian energy. It's managed to unite and strengthen NATO with new members and a stronger alliance. It's managed to alienate from Russia and unite together Ukraine in ways that it's never been before. This is just an added chapter to a very, very bad book that Putin has written for Russia. But what's so striking about it is
yes,
it's
and
internal.
Anthony Blinken
The
can
fact
write
that you have
the best book for Russia if you just let him. Buzz off.
within someone directly questioning Putin's authority, directly questioning the premises that upon which he launched this aggression against Ukraine. That in and of itself
That's what
is
they want you to
something
think.
very, very powerful. It adds cracks. Where those go, when they get there, too soon to say. But it clearly raises new questions that Putin has to deal with.
You talked about Ukraine, of course. Ukraine did launch simultaneous counteroffensives against several Russian fronts while all of this was happening. What is your understanding of the latest on the ground in Ukraine? And will they be able to take advantage of the chaos on the battlefield? How much is the U.S. and U.S. allies, NATO, leaning into the chaos in order to take advantage?
How much are they leaning into it to take advantage? Why are they taking advantage of it? Why does NATO have anything to do with it?
So these are early days for the counteroffensive. It's going to play out over weeks, maybe even over months. The Ukrainians have in hand what they need to be successful. It's challenging. It's a tough terrain. The Russians have put in place lots of defenses over the last months in anticipation of this counteroffensive, but it is progressing. And to the extent that Russia is now distracted, that Putin has to worry about what's going on inside of Russia as much as he has to worry about what he's trying to do,
and they don't have to
not
worry,
successfully.
it's over.
In Ukraine, I think that creates an additional advantage for the Ukrainians to take advantage of. But regardless, they are pressing forward. They have a clear plan. They're pursuing it.
Really?
Well, and the Ukrainian foreign minister, I know you heard this, he says it's time for the U.S. and others to put the foot on the gas, give Ukraine everything it needs to finish this. Is that going to happen?
Well, I spoke to my friend and counterpart, Dmitry Kuleba, just yesterday. We speak pretty regularly. And throughout, we have worked to make sure that the Ukrainians have what they need when they need it to do as well as they possibly can on the ground. We'll continue to do that. We're relentlessly focused on this. There's tremendous unity of purpose and unity of action among dozens of countries that, through the president's leadership, we've brought together and kept together, and we'll continue to do that.
Secretary Blinken, Russia has nearly 6,000 nuclear weapons, the largest stockpile in the world. This situation really revealed that this very large nuclear power is facing some major instability. Are you confident that the nuclear weapons are secure? And more broadly, how concerned are you about Russia
Settled
being
in
unstable
a day,
right now?
and it's totally unstable. Okay, sure. Sure. But Ukraine, ladies and gentlemen, is the most stable government on earth. They don't have any problems. Nothing's the matter with them. Nobody's standing around talking about how maybe we ought to get rid of Zelensky. That conversation is not happening. That's never happened before. Of course, I'm being totally facetious. I'm being totally sarcastic. Like, I mean, this is just unbelievable levels of gaslighting. This is why you don't watch CNN unless you like want to fry your brain on gaslighting. You want to gaslight the hell out of your brain. Like, it's unbelievable. Literally everything she says is diametrically opposed to reality itself. It is quite literally all propaganda. There is no reason to watch this. None whatsoever of a reason for anybody to go to their television and be like, oh, let's see what these leftoids have to say. Because it's quite literally all lies. Like, I hear some of these, like, conservators and Republicans, like, talk about how, like, well, we need to be fair and balanced. Like, we need to, like, listen to what they say. No, you don't, because they're liars. How many times do you have to stick a fork in a light socket and get shocked before you're like, maybe this isn't actually
$5 Canadian from Suzanne says sanctions did no damage to Russia.
Indeed.
Sanctions did no damage to Russia. Sanctions did no damage to any other country but the United States. Really,
I mean, there's like initial response to it and all, but like over the course of time, it has proven to be not effective at all. Just to like, particular about things, but hey. Yeah, no.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Anytime you have a major country like Russia that has signs of instability,
now Russia's a major
that's something of concern and something that, of course, we're very focused on. When it comes to their nuclear weapons,
if Anthony
we've
Blinken
seen
had
no change
Russia's nukes,
in their posture.
then we'd all be good.
And we've made no change in our own posture. But it's something, of course, we're looking at very, very carefully.
This quizzling weasel.
He basically said, we're not going to question his use or inability to use nuclear weapons, because obviously we know that everybody has the ability to do it. That our posture is no different. So we're gonna watch. We're gonna pay attention. We're gonna pay attention to everything that they do, and we're gonna counter the same exact way that they would actually strike us. So not only is it gonna hurt us, it's gonna hurt them. We're gonna destroy this planet from within.
Vladimir Putin, last year, the president said, for God's sake, this man cannot remain in power. Is that still the American position?
These are decisions for the Russian people. And this entire chapter is an internal matter. It obviously has
again, it's a decision for the Russian people, which is why you have to intervene.
Outside of Russia, including potentially in Ukraine.
See how that works?
But fundamentally, this is a Russian matter. It's not our business. It's not our purpose to choose Russia's leaders. That's up to the Russian people. And we have no beef with the Russian people. On the contrary, what is one of the many tragedies of what Putin has done in Ukraine is what it's done to the Russian people. And you really have to ask, how has this in any way improved the lives of Russians? Of course it hasn't. It's made them worse. But these are questions that Russians have to resolve for themselves.
Well, then everything
I have to ask you about China. You just went to Beijing last week. It was an attempt to smooth trade relations with China. 2 days later, President Biden calls Xi Jinping a dictator, which angered China so much that they issued an official diplomatic reprimand to the U.S. ambassador. Was the president wrong to call Xi Jinping a dictator?
Dana, it's very clear that when it comes to China, we are going to do and say things that they don't like. They are going to do and say things that we don't like. If you look at what comes out of the Chinese Foreign Ministry every day about the United States, you'd hear plenty of that. But the purpose of the trip, at the president's instruction, was try to bring a little bit more stability to the relationship, to demonstrate that we're committed to managing it responsibly, which really is an obligation for us and an expectation that countries around the world have, and to be able to deal very directly with our differences. There's no secret about those differences. There's no secret about concerns we have about democracy, about human rights, about some of the actions that China's taking around the world, and being able to have better, stronger, sustained lines of communication means we can talk about these differences
this
directly.
enabler of human
We can
trafficking
work
along the southern
through.
border is talking about human rights. Like, you can go straight to hell. Like, I don't want to hear a word of human rights from these human rights abusers themselves. Of course, this quibbling weasel himself would never do anything. He's just here to kowtow to the Chicoms and to, say whatever needs to be said.
Yes, these See You Next Tuesdays really are owned by China. Yes, absolutely. Someone explained Russian law only allows the use of nuclear weapons to defend the country, and one of the things that is considered to threaten the country is bordering countries joining NATO. And that's exactly what that pact actually stated, is that Ukraine could never be NATO, because then it would border anything that would it's just ridiculous. I really don't like NATO. I really don't. NATO needed to cease to exist. But for whatever reason, it still exists. It still exists for us to be able to funnel monies in and out of other countries.
Through them where we can, but at the very least, avoid misunderstandings, avoid miscalculations. That's the fastest way to go from the competition we're in to a conflict we want to avoid. So I think on those terms, the visit was positive. And again, one of the things I told the Chinese is that we're going to continue to do things and to say things that you don't like.
Do you
just as you're going to do
believe-
the same, and we'll work through them.
Do you believe that Xi Jinping is a dictator?
The president speaks clearly. He speaks candidly. I've worked for him for more than 20 years. And
Please rest assured, he can speak clearly, ladies and gentlemen. Since Anthony Blinken, he can speak so freaking clearly.
Let's be clear.
he speaks for all of us.
I hear it all the time.
Okay,
Cuban
Secretary.
definitely going to play for the programs many times over.
Clear as a whistle.
Even she kind of got a little bit of a grin on her face as he said that. She's like, like, yeah, that's a good one. Of all the lies that you told me tonight, that one was the best. That one is the best lie. Thank you so much. So, in conclusion, Xi Jinping technically is not a dictator. You don't actually formally pick up that title until after you're deceased, when you're written in history as being just that. Just saying. American,
Fuck you and your New World Order.
you're so full of it tonight. You get so much energy.
Bing, bing. I love it. I love it.
Stop. Here you go. Sweden domes climate agenda, scraps green energy targets. Oops. Sweden has just dealt a severe blow to the globalist climate agenda by scrapping its green energy targets. In the statement announcing the new policy in the Swedish parliament, Finance Minister Elizabeth Svantesson warned that the Scandinavian nation needs a stable energy system. Svantesson asserted that wind and solar power are too unstable to meet the nation's energy requirements.
Very unstable.
You don't say. You don't say that somebody actually came
Yeah,
to
if
the
it does so.
conclusion to actually believe that wind and solar power are unstable. I can't
Yeah,
believe it.
because the wind it doesn't blow all the time.
Oh, what do you mean? The sun isn't up at night?
It's yeah, no. The sun is not up at night.
Bigger mirrors. So ridiculous. So they're switching back to nuclear power. They're going back to nuclear power. I don't know if that's a good on them. Seems like that could be a cleaner energy source than most.
Yeah, yeah. It's better than having all the solar panels everywhere. And the windmills to kill the birds. We like our birds in Sweden.
So it seems as though this particular lady
Yeah,
from Sweden is
Yeah.
very, very intelligent.
yeah.
Glad you got so much to say about things tonight.
Yeah.
Because obviously my brain's not working. I know you got something to say about these assholes. World leaders push overhaul to global financial system for climate solidarity. Financial system, climate solidarity. I should put one of each of those in each one of my hands, and I should weigh them off of the letters that they have to see which one is more important and why we shouldn't use the other to pay for the other. You got zero things to say about this? Are you kidding me right now?
I mean, we've been over. So, what is 50 heads of state are meeting at a summit in Paris to discuss a summit for a new global financing pact. I have not heard this yet.
Oh, around 50 heads of state are meeting in the summit in Paris to discuss plans to overhaul and global financial system to save the planet from climate change.
Climate change.
On Thursday and Friday, world leaders have been gathering at the summit with the new global financing pact, an event hosted by France President Emmanuel Macron in Paris. The agenda of the gathering is to urge world leaders to sign a globalist pact committing to a financial overhaul for climate solidarity. The world's wealthiest nations are demonstrating a surge in solidarity with those most vulnerable to climate change, said Cécile Duflot, president of the NGO Oxfam. Some 50 heads of state and government, representatives from international finance institutions, members of private sector, climate experts, and other powerful elites will be attending the summit. The objective of the ambitious conference is to build a new contract between the global north and south, according to the Elysee Palace. Macron announced his intention to host the summit at the end of COP27 back in November of 2022. Environmentalists are not satisfied with how the climate negotiations have concluded, but in the final hours, a historic agreement was reached providing the establishment of a fund to compensate for the effects of climate change suffered by developing countries. The initial aim of this week's summit
By
for
making them
new
stop developing. See how that works? Like it's the whole point of this is to stop development. like like the climate change's effect on poor countries. Oh my god. That's why we have to stop the poor countries from developing. Because climate change. So they just stay third and fourth world.
organizers cite the Ukraine war, the economy, and the alleged climate crisis as the key issues facing the world today. Of course, those are the main reasons why you're actually concerned. Climate crisis is at the top of your list. It should not be. I don't get why anybody puts it even on the list. I don't see the crises. I really don't. Yes, they've gone through some warming and some cooling stages or whatever, some El Nino, La Nina stuff, whatever. I get that. Certain times, certain things happen. You get warmer, and all of a sudden you get colder again. What are we gonna do when all of a sudden we're gonna start paying tax on sheets of ice when the next ice age happens? I mean,
But Koolfrogg, those forest fires, though, they everywhere. It's all your fault. Don't you know that? Because you use electricity in your house, and you
Rose.
people have vehicles. It's all your fault. Those things totally didn't spontaneously combust all at once across hundreds of miles. That's not a thing. Don't look at the satellite imagery. No, it's your fault. So now we have to overhaul the whole system, you see, because COOF and climate change and all the rest of it. It's just out of control. You need the global elites to come in and take over and just seize control of everything, right? Because
look at the list of these
they're
names.
spinning everything out of control. So there you go.
Look at the list of these names coming up here. It says on Wednesday, 13 political leaders, including Macron, the U.S. President Joe Biden, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, Brazilian President Inácio de Silva, that guy from, that Brazil guy. You remember him?
Yeah, Lula, as he's called for short.
Climate change will generate large and more frequent disasters that disproportionately affect the poorest, most vulnerable populations around the world, they wrote. They're so ridiculous to bring up the point over and over again. They just keep on saying, oh, look, world population's at risk. It's at risk because of this. Pay us all your money.
Yes, because they're so concerned with making sure that the population stays alive.
Don't forget when we get ready to start upcycling citizens.
Right, exactly.
Disgusting.
No. So, no, it's your fault. It's all your fault. Don't you see? You need a global reset. You need a central bank digital currency so they can control how you buy and sell and do literally everything in your life. No, it's. I mean, we don't look at the world around you. Just only focus on these people in Paris, your global elites, telling you that it's all your fault for wanting to have gasoline in your car. Yes, indeed. Eat your bugs.
Eat your bugs. Yes. This is the funniest out of the whole thing right here. It says estimated last year that the world needs to allocate $1 trillion a year between now and 2030 for developing countries besides China to respond to the climate and biodiversity crises besides China?
China,
Because China is still considered a developing country, supposedly,
of course.
according to China. So, besides China, everybody else, every other developing country out there, you get $1 trillion a year. Just pennies. Don't worry about it. We got it. We're going to give it to you. Because they're going to take it out of our pockets and make us pay it. Oxfam estimates that $27 trillion will have to be mobilized to fight poverty, inequality, and climate change in developing countries between now and 2030, around $3.9 trillion a year. The World Bank put this estimate even higher, outlining it in 2021 climate action plan that $4 trillion a year will be needed between now and 2030 to build infrastructure that meets the needs of developing countries.
AKA, let's spawn up a bunch of scam artist groups to launder money from you to the elite, and so they can do whatever they want. And then after all of that stuff's said and done, or maybe it's like a legal thing, right? Where it's like, okay, we have to give X amount of money over here and over there. Well, guess what? Like, we're actually just kind of not going to use it for what you think. We're going to use it for what we think. And then, whoops, sorry, you have a totalitarian control over half the world. Whoops. We're all doing it for our good. King Charles says it's for our good, ladies and gentlemen. Believe him. He's a believable guy, you know. He's very likable too. Everybody likes him, right? Right? Loves King Charles. Who doesn't love King Charles? Right? Koolfrogg, you a fan?
Yes.
Oh
Count
yes.
Chucky.
See, everybody loves Chucky.
Yep. Count Chucky it is. That's who he is. You don't get
Chucky,
a choice.
Freaking Dracula. You know? Everybody loves him.
Huh? Oh no. I hear somebody. I hear there's a child that's having an issue in my household. Says, meanwhile, several associations and NGOs are already putting forward a number of ideas. First, they're calling for taxes to be introduced. He does have a mother, by the way. In particular, fossil fuel companies, due to their historic responsibility for climate chaos. In early June, 12 associations signed a petition asking Macron to tax the fossil fuel industry. They had gathered more than 31,000 signatures as of June 21. This tax would enable us to raise up to $300 trillion, said Fanny Pettibone, head of it. I think I have to actually take care of this child. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay. The principle of this tax is simple, given the scale of transactions carried out on the financial markets. Applying even a very low tax rate would help raise significant tax revenue without having any impact on how the markets work. Ahead of the Paris summit, only a consensus on taxing maritime transport seems to be emerging, which could generate between 60 and 80 billion a year, according to the World Bank. Quote, the subject could come to fruition in July with the International Maritime Organization meets, said Pettibon. But the question of how the money will be used has yet to be decided. So it's fine. We'll just keep taxing the hell out of everything. You know? I mean, if you thought inflation was bad now, just wait till this all comes around. Total hell. So, well, I can't read on from here because I don't have the link to this article. Maybe I can pull it up here. Do. Here. No. Well, crud. But I mean, we got. We're already. I mean, if you're in Canada, like, I mean, not only is your government hell, but like, they're trying to like literally burn and char the earth around you. So like, I mean, there's a lot of things to be said about that. Oh, by the way, there's like a cloud of smoke covering almost the entirety of the continental United States too. I think I already mentioned that, by the way, on previous stream with Koolfrogg. But anywho's, I mean, yeah, like these people are going to keep pushing this crap, and they're going to keep coming up with all this fake climate crap, and they're going to keep coming up with, you know, oh, this scary, you know, stomach bug or virus, quote unquote. Oh no, it's come out from the jungles, quote unquote. Totally not allowed.
Sorry about that.
Coming up with all this crap, all the climate change gobbledygook garbage. And they're going to keep creating all these excuses to just keep funding their NWO. I mean, it's literally, I mean, yeah, you kind of boil it down to that. And so this meeting in particular is another, I guess.
All right.
They didn't call it the Paris Climate Accords, but like it's kind of another sort of meeting like that, if you will.
If we're going to spin it up, we're going to move on. To the cringe of this lady. Just 3 minutes and 53 seconds of her melting down is one of the best things to actually see. Normally I just read her stuff, whatever, because I don't like her voice. But for what it is, you deserve to actually listen to her.
And secondly, the president invited his son Hunter to the state dinner last night. I'm wondering if you could take us into the thinking and decision-making of why the president decided to invite.
I'm just not going to get into family discussion, personal family discussion. As you know, Hunter is his son. I'm just not going to get into it.
If Hunter Biden wasn't the president's son, would he have invited someone who had just reached a plea agreement with federal prosecutors?
Well,
2 days earlier?
a couple of things. Again, that's his son. It's a family member. It is for family members to attend events at the White House. You could look at. I'm sure
Stop
you have.
winning.
So that is not uncommon. As it relates to anything related to Hunter, I'm just not going to respond to it from here.
Can I follow up on that?
Okay. No, I just called in somebody. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, but I mean, so Kirby wouldn't answer James's question, though. Are you going to answer the question? I mean, not a reasonable question to ask, but the president of the United States was involved as this message.
It's kind of like, well, you know, is it possible for you just to give us an answer? Because, you know, we would all kind of be interested in knowing what's going on. And look at this lady back behind that look that she's giving him, like, did you seriously just say that?
It seems to suggest in some sort of a coercive conversation for business dealings by a son. Is that something, if he wasn't, then maybe you should tell us.
So here's the thing, I appreciate the question. I believe my colleague at the White House Counsel has answered this question already, has dealt with this, has made it very clear. I just don't have anything to share outside of what my colleagues have shared. And so I would refer you to him and the DOJ. Just not going to comment from here.
Text message.
I will. What I can tell you is I know that my colleague has dealt with this. He addressed this at the White House Counsel. I just don't have anything else to share. I just answered the question. I just answered the question.
No, you didn't. Yes or no, was the president involved in the shakedown attempt?
Stephen, I just answered the question. I just said, it's not up to you how I answer the question. I just answered the question by telling you my colleagues at the White House Council has dealt with this, and I would refer you to them. Go ahead.
I have no answer for you whatsoever at any point in time. I'm going to actually take you and tell you that you need to go talk to somebody else to get your answers, because I've never asked the question, so I have no answers to it, because I don't think about those things. Really, this lady is ridiculous. It's so hilarious.
Can you just remind us what your colleague said from the White House Council so we have it?
I would refer you to them, and they will share their statement with y'all.
Can I get the question yet one more time?
Your statements from that podium, you stated that the president stands by his comment from the 2020 campaign that he never once discussed his son's overseas business dealings with his son. And you stood at that podium and you reaffirmed that. Do you stand by your reaffirmation?
What I will say is nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. And I will leave it there. Anything else, I will refer you to the White House Council.
Oh my God.
Change?
Nothing's changed. But if it has, but it hasn't, but maybe if it has, you could go over there. Just don't look at me.
I just answered the question. You just asked me, does my statement change? I just told you nothing has changed. That's answering the question. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Stephen. I'm calling on your colleague right now. Go ahead.
Thank you. To follow up on my colleague, is there anything that you can say with regard to this text message and what the president's son was alleging? Was the president there or not?
I would refer you to my colleagues at the White House Council. They have addressed this, and I would refer you to them. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So the 50 seconds left. What do you think this next one's going to actually say?
Have you spoken to the president about this? Have you asked him whether he was there with his son on July 30th?
This is not a conversation that I've had with the president. Again, I would refer you to the White House Council.
Do you plan to have that conversation with the president?
No.
Did the president speak with the attorney general at all?
I cannot say if the president had had a conversation with the attorney general last night. What I can refer you to is the White House counsel's office as it relates to the allegations. They've already addressed this. This is something for them to deal with. I refer you to the Department of Justice on anything else if you don't want to speak to the White House counsel's office.
And there was reporting earlier in the week that after the plea agreement was reached by Hunter Biden, that the president felt relieved that that part of it was behind him. Is that true? Can you
I can't speak to that. I cannot speak to the president's mindset. Again, I would refer you to the White House counsel's office.
So the thing that is relating directly to the presidency, she has absolutely no statement on from the White House. None. Because she never does.
Yep, 0 things to say from the White House when it comes to anything to do
with the White House.
The White House.
Exactly. That's how this works. I mean, they literally had a sit-down meeting with a foreign leader with Hunter Biden and Joe Biden there in the room. When all this news breaks about him doing all this stuff with other foreign leaders and other foreign people of other countries, I mean, is this true? And why is he sitting there with him? Shouldn't there be sort of like, pull back from that? Why are they just throwing him down to the White House and all these other places, whatever? Does the White House itself, the place that hosted these people, do they have any comment on what went on? Why would they allow this? Who should we? Oh, no. Actually, the White House has no response about anything that goes on in the White House. Pure and simple.
0 things. Oh, I don't know why I brought this particular article to the table. I have no clue. New Jersey new gender state Senate confirms first transgender cabinet official. First transgender
oh my God.
cabinet official.
It's hideous.
In a unanimous 37-0 vote, the New Jersey Senate confirmed the state's first transgender cabinet official, Allison Myers, was confirmed as the chair of the CEO of New Jersey Civil Service Commission on Wednesday. Governor Phil Murphy appointed Myers to the position last December to succeed Deidre Webster Cobb, who stepped down January 1. Since then, Murphy has been leading the commission in the acting basis. So, do you think there's any big relationship between Phil Murphy and Allison Myers?
Oh, I bet they're dating. I bet that's what it is. It's full nepotism, you know? Like that's what's happening there.
I was so glad that New Jersey is so willing unanimously to put this person in the seat.
The thing, the creature.
McCarthy forecasts Garland impeachment inquiry in whistleblower allegations true?
There's plenty of other things to impeach him on, McCarthy. McCarthy's, to me, at this point, is just ending up as an absolute joke.
So when you I'm thinking about McCarthy here. I'm thinking about him, and when it, if he's going to bring him up, Merrick Garland, for being impeached, if he does do such a thing, if he brings him up on one thing, isn't it that he has to actually find him for that in particular to actually succeed in impeaching him? Because of all the things that he could use, why he would choose this one in particular to fail would kind of signal that, hey, we attempted not to try again. Kind of disturbed on the situation between these two. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy on Sunday signaled for the impeachment of inquiry of Attorney General Merrick Garland would be imminent if whistleblower allegations in U.S. Attorney for District of Delaware David Weiss wanted to appoint a special counsel in the Department of Justice Hunter Biden probe are true. McCarthy retweeted allegations made by the whistleblower, IRS Criminal Supervisory Special Agent Gary Shapley Jr., noting if his allegations are true, this will be a significant part of a larger impeachment inquiry into Merrick Garland's weaponization of DOJ. His retweet included a post from Washington Examiner chief correspondent Byron York, who noted that Shapley alleged Vice wanted charges against Biden to be brought to Washington, D.C. Moreover, York included Shapley's legal team's claim that during an October 7, 2022 meeting that Vice's office, 6 witnesses observed him state that he did not have authority to charge in other districts and had thus requested special counsel status. The claim, which came on Friday, added those 6 witnesses, including Baltimore FBI Special Agent in charge Tom Sobozinski and Assistant Special Agent in charge Raisha Hawley, IRS Assistant Special Agent in charge Gary Shapley, and Special Agent in charge Daryl Walden, who also independently and contemporarily, whatever the fuck, it's too long for me, corroborated Mr. Shapley's account in an email. Now public in Exhibit 10, following page 148 of the testimony transcript, Mr. Shapley would have no insight into why Mr. Weiss's would make these statements at the October 7th, 2022 meeting if they were false. You'd have no insight in it if they were false. So, what is the whole point of this whistleblower? What's this whistleblower even about? Why? I mean, I think the whistleblower is not what they're actually calling it to be. I think this whistleblower's not telling the truth on a lot of things. That Mr. Weiss made these statements is easily corroborated, and it is up to him and the Justice Department to reconcile evidence in his October 7th, 2022 statements that are contrary to statements by Mr. Weiss and the Attorney General of Congress. However, in the same day, Garland denied that Weiss ever asked him for special counsel to be appointed in the matter. It's not what he wanted. He wanted an ice cream bar. That's why he was screaming. Turn off all the lights and make him go lay down. He'll fall asleep. That's all that was. He didn't want me. I don't know how it would be possible for anybody to block him from bringing prosecution, given that he is the authority. He is never told no. I'm saying he is given complete authority to make all the decisions on his own. The only person that authority to make somebody a special counsel, to refuse to make somebody a special counsel as the Attorney General, Mr. Weiss, never made that request to me. I would... Garland added, I would support Mr. Weiss explaining or testifying on these matters when he deems appropriate. McCarthy said on Sunday that the facts need to come to light, and that includes reconciling these clear disparities. He can bring him up on almost any other thing for this. I really don't understand why he...
I mean, there were so many other things even in the past. I mean, you could get him on. I mean, like, why this thing in particular that we're going to, like, oh, well, if it's true, then we're going to do it here. Like, you could have gotten Garland on the border crisis stuff, partially. You could have gotten him with, I mean, so many other things.
This is ridiculous.
The way he's handled things, the Trump indictment stuff, the whole trying to charge him with federal crimes, the whole thing with him and the raid, the FBI, and the signing off on it. I mean, all of the impropriety that he's been doing. I mean, you could get him on literally anything. Like, it's all there. It's all right there. To any use.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking around here real quick. I have a lot of tabs open. Got a lot of tabs open here. Here you go. RFK Jr. calls for federal legalization of marijuana. Let states decide their own laws. I'm down. Release the federal obligation over it. I really don't understand why the federal government feels the need to actually make it that it would ever had been illegal. It's just marijuana. There's a big difference between what marijuana is and what it is stigmatized as. There's a big difference. There's many, many benefits. And for, RFK to actually come step up on that one, he might actually pull a very large group of people that are interested in such a thing.
But I mean, that's not even going to make a difference for the Democrat primary because they're not going to let him do anything. They already aren't. So, but I mean, if he was to conjoin with Trump, why, that would be a very large coalition politically of the electorate.
All right.
I
So,
still think that should be a thing.
I mean, I'm down. I'm down for what he's actually, what he's trying to lay down on this particular issue. I really think that the federal government shouldn't have any say.
Well, my position is, as long as we're not selling known toxins and things that are very easily to be abused and have people become addicted to, so long as we're not doing that, whatever. But like, we can't be knowingly like, oh look, like this is a fentanyl pill, or like, oh, here's meth, like it's totally fine, like you should take it. Like, no, like like some things are just like outright like toxic and poison. Like, let's not like, oh, but it gets you high, so let's, it's like, no, that's like, now we're just causing a problem. Like, but I mean, as long as there's, I mean, I would even argue this for food substances too, like, corn syrup and everything, calling a sandwich a sandwich when, I mean, like Ireland with their food laws and things, that kind of idea of that kind of thing. But outside of that, like, yeah, the states, should be able to decide whether or not they would want, Mary Jane joints of different kinds and whatever. And localities. So anyhow.
So, big stories, things that happen, things that don't happen. It seems like these ones are happening more and more often. So here's a Montana bridge collapse sends train cars into Yellowstone River, prompting federal response. Now, the interesting one on this is when you actually look at what it actually started off saying, was that it would contain hot asphalt and forward carrying molten sulfur. So, is nothing big, don't worry. Molten sulfur in itself is fine. Not really when it comes down to it. I believe, well, that's the bridge that's nearby the bridge that just collapsed. So then molten sulfur, a pale yellow crystalline solid with a faint odor of rotten eggs, insoluble in water. This landed in water. Just so happened to spew itself out of its containment into water, which is insoluble too.
Oops.
So does it no longer disperse itself is basically what it's coming down to, right? So this is Montana said that two cars which contained sodium hydrogen sulfate and acid salt did not enter the water, and that initial air and water tests did not find any evidence that they had leaked. So again, sodium hydrogen sulfate. Why is it that every single one of these train cars that's been derailing just so happens to have something similar to sodium hydrogen sulfate? Causes severe skin burns and eye damage. Inhalation may be corrosive to the respiratory tract. Skin contact causes severe irritation, which will progress to chemical burns. Eye contact causes permanent damage to the cornea, iris, and conjunctiva. So, a very, very dangerous chemical in itself, just so happened to be hauled by the same train. Why is there so many train derailments lately? Vicky T, what is up? Good to see you, dude. What's up, Madcore? America Pants is here. Did you see that? America Pants gets excited when you show up. The hat, not as much. It depends. Put a pic in Trudeau beside a Dylan Mulvaney. They are one. Sure enough. Thank you again for the Canadian 5.
I mean, I would have said Castro, but like, okay.
Vicky T. When are you back? Sean D. Sarcasm says, what happened to the morning show? Is that over? It's been over, and it's not something we speak of. It's not something that we speak of. This channel is stemmed off of being a news and politics channel, and it's going to continue to be a news and politics channel. That's what it originated for. Coming back tomorrow. Nice. Okay, continue here. It says multiple local and federal agencies were on the scene, including Federal Railroad Administration officials, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg tweeted that he had spoken to the Montana Governor Greg Gainfort about the incident and that the residents concerned about potential impacts should follow information and instructions from local authorities. The State Fish and Wildlife Park Department. What's that?
I said Buttgig isn't going to have anything to say about it. He doesn't know anything.
No, of course he isn't going to have anything to say about it. The State Fish and Wildlife Park Department said the river would be closed and asked boaters to avoid the area. I wonder why. Some insoluble contaminant just entered the waterway of the Montana River. So then again, here's the map of this particular bridge, and you can see the Yellowstone River. Here's the Yellowstone River. So this bridge is temporarily closed because this is the bridge that's in the picture that's collapsed.
Temporarily closed. It just makes it sound like it's a minor repair or something. Like the entire thing just caved in. It's like,
you look at the Yellowstone River and where it actually goes and meanders its way down and through. It's called the Yellowstone River for a reason. Usually they pass through specific areas. So that was up here between Reed Point. It's really easy to find when you actually go in there because it says, oh, this particular Twin Bridges is closed. It's like, oh, fun. That's exactly where it is. And it's dumped itself into these waters. These waters up in these mountains like this or whatever, they have the tendency to move fairly quick. They're not slow moving. Usually they move themselves, because they move so quickly. I don't know if they were able to actually keep up with the spill, the contaminant, and if this insoluble contaminant is actually going to be any good to the environment. It didn't look like there was anything else that was really updated on it in particular. I kept a couple sites out open. So this one was updated 3 hours ago. You can see quite the picture. It almost looks like it wasn't necessarily just the train, but potentially the bridge. Potentially the bridge had issues.
I mean, it's in pieces, so I would assume there'd be something wrong with the bridge.
Officials were in Stillwater County Sunday and updated the train is derailed into the Yellowstone River. Guynfort spoke to the press conference after the briefing, thanking those who responded to the incident. We were very fortunate in what ended up. We were very fortunate in what ended up in the river. It could have been a lot worse. There's no loss of life, and I'm encouraged that preliminary water samples will all come back negative. During the press conference, yeah, it's because it all washed itself downriver somewhere. During the press conference, Joseph, president of Montana Rail Link, shared that the bridge was last inspected in May with ultrasonic testing of the line done at the last 2 months of the incident. So they're kind of blaming it on the bridge as well. It's the bridge that failed. It wasn't the train that derailed that caused the bridge to fail. It was the bridge. While the rail is out, service is down on the southern line. It says that they're working to route as much traffic as possible from Laurel and Grant Falls through Shelby. So they're actually trying to close the road bridge that's nearby to actually keep people from coming through the area. So then Sunday morning, Montana Rail Link gave an update in the train derailment near Reed Point, saying the site work and remediation began Saturday evening. Crews are working transloading sodium hydrosulfide car closest to the river. See, sodium hydrosulfide. Now all of a sudden there's yet another, because that's not what we called out. Was it? Or it was, wasn't it? Yeah, sodium hydrogen sulfide. It was. So that other train car holding that sodium sulfide, that came really close. I'm saying there's something that's going on. There's something that's going on across this nation. There are people are actually trying to derail these trains. I think there's more to it. I could be totally wrong. I'm just saying. I have a strange feeling that there's something more to this, and why these particular chemicals just so happen to be on every single one of these trains that's derailed lately. Kind of disturbing to actually think about.
I mean, it is quite the coinkydink to suggest that, every single train car that tips over is either food or it's full of toxins. It's like, oh, that's interesting. What about all the other things that are transported by train? Why doesn't that tip over? Why don't we have like a coal car tipping over and like dumping coal everywhere, or gravel or something else of like a massive scale or whatever? But like, it's either toxins or food or things to fertilize food, fertilizer itself, whatever, like that kind of deal. It's always that.
Getting down.
Quite the coinkydink.
I tried limiting us to a few hours, but sometimes things just don't work out that way. Careful what you tell AI. Hackers target private info of ChatGPT users. Nothing to see here, folks. Oh yeah, wait. Did we think that this wasn't already happening? The increasing popularity of OpenAI's AI chatbot ChatGPT has led to a surge of cybersecurity threats, with over 101,000 compromised ChatGPT account login credentials found on the dark web marketplaces in the past year. Compromised accounts put ChatGPT users' privacy at risk because the system keeps a record of chats, which may include sensitive information and personal data. Mashable reports that over 101,000 compromised. See, it's going to repeat itself. It's going to repeat itself. I'm not going to read it anymore. That's what they do. They repeat themselves 10 times until they can actually drill it into your head. So, what we're looking at is ChatGPT compromised all of our accounts, over 101,000 compromised accounts. So anybody that had a ChatGPT account, be careful what you're actually using it for and what you're actually saying on there, whatever, because they actually have it. It's been compromised. And, great. Sounds fun. Glad that they can actually continue to do ridiculous things.
Oh, but ChatGPT is the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Oh, yeah. It's so good.
Oh, my God. It's the greatest thing ever. You don't even have to think. It just does all the thinking for you. Oh, wait. Then it just, takes your data and records and logs everything. So, some government agency just walks in and is like, thank you. Like all the rest of these social media type things, But hey, it's sunshines, lollipops, and rainbows and everything that's fun. It's wonderful.
So this is AI relevant, and I think that's why I put them both together. So my boyfriend made me an AI clone of me so other men can enjoy my company.
Oh my God. We already knew that was coming.
OnlyFans model Kariana K is capitalizing on the celebrity companionship boom, launching her own AI doppelganger last month. So now, if you didn't want the real thing, you can look at the fake thing for companionship.
I mean, isn't that what all these movies
wrong
and
with
things?
people? There's something so wrong with people. It's so disgusting.
Yeah.
Stop it. Stop doing stupid things. If you're actually paying money to hang out with this digital figure of this fake young lady, something might be wrong with you. Might need to go see a psychiatrist or something.
First rule of thumb is no soy. No soy. Try to get rid of the soy.
Depending on how much money that's making is borderline brilliant. It's disturbing and very disgusting is what it is. Clumsy Clairvoyance gifted a Koolfrogg membership. Thank you so much, dear. Thank you. It's for all the 40-year-old virgins out there. I guess if they feel the need. All right, we're going to move into some disturbing, disgusting things here, so just some fair warning. Delta employee dies after reportedly being ingested into the plane's engine. Delta Airlines ground crew employees died after reportedly being ingested into the airplane's engine at a Texas airport Friday night. An accident occurred on the ground of San Antonio International Airport that resulted in the fatality of an airline ground crew member. We were deeply saddened by the incident and are working with authorities as they begin their investigation. We will share more information as details become available. Officials with the San Antonio International Air stated, according to Ken 65. Immediately would have been very, very immediate. When I seen this, I'm like, what the? This actually happened. You can see this was put out as of 2:00 this afternoon. It just hit midnight here. So when you think about it, this just happened today. Very saddening and disturbing to actually believe such a thing would occur. Yeah, they're going to investigate it. Sadly, I would think that there's a lot of things that are happening in this world that would have caused them to actually do such a thing. That's where I'm going with it. That's where I'm assuming is the issue. Another body pulled from river as serial killer concerns plague Chicago. They're actually dealing with more than what they've actually been dealing with for quite some time now. It says at least 12 bodies have been pulled out of the Chicago River, Lake Michigan, in the last 15 months, and the 13th was found Saturday. Rumors of the active serial killer team in Chicago started as far back as 2019. At least a dozen men have died under eerily similar circumstances. Their bodies discovered days after disappearing, usually near Chicago's waterways, like the Chicago River and Lake Michigan. Another body was retrieved Saturday, according to ABC7, and the circumstances fit a pattern. The victims are reportedly military-aged males Military-aged males? Why would they put it that way?
I don't know.
Why would they? There's a weird tie in there that they're actually putting them as military-aged males who are then
I'd like to
drugged.
see the nationality of all these people too. By the way.
There's lots of questions to go along with this particular issue or whatever, but they're suggesting that there could be a serial killer that's around that area. If you're a military-aged male, you might want to stay your butt out of Chicago. And then drugged and abducted by suspected killers, only to be found in the river or lake days later. Some of the GHB, a depressant drug, is in their system. Retired New York City cop Kevin Gannon and forensic professor Doc Gilbertson suggests, according to Fox 32. We first covered the story of bodies showing up in Chicago waterways in February, but as the city's fallen apart under the weight of failed progressive policies, it doesn't surprise me that literally nothing has been done to make the city livable. With rampant homelessness, transient and organized crime, and political leadership that literally doesn't give a crap, it feels likely the victims' families will get closure anytime soon. It also sounds like these families aren't alone. A Chicago-based alleged serial killer allegedly strangled women of color in mass between 2001 and 2019. According to Uncovered, some 75 women were either strangled or smothered in the city, and only a third of those cases were ever solved. So, though they think they may have a serial killer on the loose within the city or group, because of their mannerisms and how they've actually been doing it, seems like they've been doing something since around 2019. Maybe longer if there's other things. Maybe they just decided they almost got caught, so they changed what they were doing. people report on it and us, and they're like, "Oh, I heard that." That's that's the stuff that certain people are doing, and once they hear that they're actually being, somebody's on their tail, they change certain mannerisms. Sounds like a Christian seed cult out of West Virginia, where their sins carved into their skin. What the heck what are you on, Winning Reality? We won't say much about this next one here. It's something very short, something that some young man suddenly passes from a heart attack at the age of 28 after previously complaining about certain conditions that happened because of a couple jabs that were occurred. This isn't the first time that he actually fell down. In the article, it actually does go down into actually explaining how Oscar Cabrera, Dominican Republican player, had complained about developing rare heart diseases only after a certain thing was administered. Very interesting in itself to actually believe that we're so okay with just overlooking things. His own words. Damn. Mm-hmm. He knows where it came from, and now he's no longer with us. At a super young age, an up and rising star that he could have been. It's getting really scary to actually think about what is actually going on in this world and where things are leading us.
Indeed.
Screw this guy. Elton John singles out particular laws as why he's done performing in the U.S. I say goodbye, good riddance, good sir. Have fun not coming to the United States if that's where you feel about our children. Disgusting.
He has an interesting background with some of that as well, from what I have been able to gather. That, hey, I mean, a lot of people like his music and all, but I mean, like I said, from what I can gather, he does have a bit of a background with the opposite of anti-grooming laws. So, yeah, he's a interesting character to look into for things of that nature. If anybody is interested, all of those things are, of course, are probably not very YouTube friendly. So, but
yeah, probably not. Just disturbing news is all this is at the end. Sorry. No, there is one good one at the very, very end. Something that'll make everybody laugh. Maybe. Ohio toddler dies after being left alone for 8 days. Mother went on vacation. There's people that just like, duh. What? Why would, you can't? Your toddler? What was the toddler doing? Who you're going on vacation from? The toddler? Where's the dad? Did you ask anybody if they could actually assist you with this so that way, you could actually go on this vacation? Did
Apparently
you forget the baby when you went on vacation? You were supposed to take it with you. It was one of those, oh shit, I left the baby. What the fuck? She allegedly told investigators that she left her daughter at home all alone and unattended when she was away in Puerto Rico and Detroit Kendra Leo came home, and her daughter was dead after leaving her with no food or water. Well, of course, you just went. What were you doing? 20-year-old Ohio mother was charged with the death of the 16 months. That's not a toddler. That's not a toddler. There's no way. Sad, disgusting, disturbing pieces of work. Oh, do you remember this guy? Child actor. Just couldn't stay away from the use of drugs. Fentanyl is the cause of death for former child star Adam Rich. Adam Rich is no longer with us. He's passed on to hopefully better places, somewhere where he won't be so addicted to the drugs that he loved oh so much. Sadly, he succumbed to fentanyl overdose. I remember him from 8 is Enough. Something that you might not remember I know you're way younger than myself.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, allegedly.
Here, you want to put some input on this one? Mr. They Them's Flash, a certified box office catastrophe.
They Them's Flash. What the freak is
Mr. They Them's.
What is that? Is this a joke that they're saying, or is this like at the actual?
No, this is supposedly something that's actual something for you.
Oh, they're referring to the star of this movie, this wacko, who's non-binary serial criminal. Da, da, da. Oh yeah, like this guy is a total. You want to talk about like, things with children that are very inappropriate. The opposite of anti grooming laws type stuff. You want to talk about that? Well, take a look at this individual. Holy crap. This person's just blatant. He just does this stuff in public.
The Flush. Because it's trash. It's devastating. $55 million. Still, people want to go actually watch it because they're like, oh, it's the Flash. And they want to go find out that Mr. They Them, serial criminal, incredibly accused non-binary child groomer, disgusting and very, very disturbing, to make you think that they would actually go to the point of actually creating such a character to push their bullshit to our children. If you're not paying attention to what your children are watching, maybe we should actually do that and stop watching disgusting shit like Mr. They Them. Fuck. Sorry, tonight's not so exciting for everybody. Here you go. One last thing for you. Fisherman charged by alligator in stunning caught on video encounter. I thought it was fun.
Gator. Get off my lawn, says the gator.
The guy knew. He knew it beforehand. He's seen it coming.
He probably did.
You could hear them as they were talking to say that he was coming or whatever. But it's always a good idea to go fishing when there's gators around. Good job.
Swell. Could you imagine, like, you're fishing and it's just like, oh, I caught a big one. I caught a big one. Oh, my Landon.
Shanti sarcasm says I'd kick the gator's ass. I doubt it. All right.
Alligators like, you can't stomp on my lawn. Like, that's my lawn. Only the gardener can manicure it. You're not allowed to step on it. Like, get out of here.
Is there somebody else that's live?
That's
right
his
now?
beef.
Sorry, that was a little. I don't know. I felt that it was a good show, but at the same time, it was a little underwhelming. That happens sometimes. Sometimes you don't get a lot of time to actually produce things. Nobody's live right now. Okay.
Madcore, his reaction to that, it's like, oh well, he tastes like chicken. that's Madcore's reaction. Is like to eat the thing now.
Yeah, crocodile. Gator. You ever tried to eat any of it?
Not that I recall. No.
It's actually good. It's actually good. Some would say it tastes like chicken. People are ridiculous when they say things that taste like chicken, because usually things that they say taste like chicken don't really taste like chicken. Better stay away from.
Like frog legs. Oh no, I've petrified.
Exactly, Ben. It's very tasty. Sorry that was a little underwhelming for the night or whatever. I'll see if I can't do better for you tomorrow. Thank you all so very much for being here. Don't forget to check out americashirtsaretfirst.com.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. The website is back up and running. You can go there. Just click the big old button that says go and see all the shirts. And there they shall be. Go there and grab yourself some awesome Base t-shirts. I will be adding more as well. But there is already a plethora to choose from. Please go there and grab them. Of course, the newest installment that's been there is Abolish the Triple Letter Agencies, abolish three-letter agencies.
Get them while you
CIA,
can. They're
FBI,
flying off the
DHS, all of them.
shelves.
Oh, yeah. Totally. Get them while they're hot. We've got several people that have purchased. Thank you very much for all those who have purchased. And that is how you can support me, moi, is by buying shirt. And I have a Rumble channel. Go over to Rumble. Check it out. Koolfrogg is also on Rumble.
All of you that are over on that Rumble side, well, since you're already over there, go ahead and hit up America Shirts, all one word, where you see it on the screen. Go check them out. Check them out and do the same for me. If you haven't
Don't
done
say
so
this
already.
too loud. Frog is still here. Anyway.
Sean D. Sarcasm says Rumble is the best. It can be. It can be for certain things.
Hey, hey. Look at that.
Zero people showed up
Thank you
over
for
there
that review.
tonight to actually say anything. Hope those few that normally do actually are okay. Madcore Mofo. Sorry, brother. He says I don't think I got a Madcore Mofo. I don't think you did. Like I said, I'm just a little off today. Hopefully, get back to it tomorrow. We'll be okay. Get right up and at it. And you might be surprised. There might be something that I might produce earlier in the day. Keep an eye open for that. All that being said, thank y'all. Love y'all, and later.
Later, peeps.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.